Are rock humans back?
Who knew fancy watches could be so slippery?
And why am I craving chicken burritos right now?
Today's review and discussion is brought to you by Stacked. Stacked is a new social video platform where communities can watch, react, and comment on videos together.
Stacked is truly a fun and unique way to watch videos that adds to the overall community experience.
Think of it as a watch-along or a watch party. Your comments will appear across videos in real time, and there's even an audience bar on the side for you to see how many people have watched the video with you.
We're really excited to be partnering with Stacked and have even uploaded multiple videos from our channel, old and new,
as well as some exclusive content that you can only get on Stacked, like from our previous variety show episode where we talked about manga art and manga artists, and spoiler alert, Araki was on both of our lists.
So make sure to join us and check it out for yourself.
It is completely free to sign up to. All you gotta do is click the link in the description below and use code VOLUME1 to sign up.
You don't gotta be stacked to get stacked. All you gotta do is click the link in the description below to find out more.
Everyone who heads over and signs up helps us and this channel out directly. So head on over to Stacked and leave us a comment while you're there. Now let's get right into the video. The Jojolands is finally back. Chapter 9. Araki has been cooking. He stays cooking.
Yeah, he really popped off
Once
again. And we this is the first chapter that we've had to wait for.
As monthly readers.
As first-time monthly readers. And let me tell you, I felt it.
Oh, yeah, dude.
A month felt like a year.
I wanted to savor every panel, every page as I was reading it. A lot of crazy stuff kind of goes down in this chapter. And for me, I felt like, and I wonder how you felt, if you felt the same, I felt like something was kind of off this entire chapter in the best way, only for the end to be what it was.
For sure.
I
had no obviously JoJo just does things all the time where you're like, whoa, that's a crazy reveal. We knew this chapter was going to be crazy from the last one because it kind of built up what had occurred. And it's funny, like Araki does this thing where he lets you kind of breathe for a little bit after like a really high stakes interaction between characters, the whole watch fiasco that happened. And we really thought it was going to be way worse. We thought they were going to have to like fight these people and fight the cops off if they were called or something, but it didn't end up happening.
It was kind of goofy. The watch just like some Three Stooges stuff.
And then
with bigger implications.
Yeah, and then it was just fine. And then it resolved itself. And then it was like, oh, whoa, I thought that was going to be way worse. And then it's like, okay, well, get ready. Yeah. There's something even more sinister about to happen. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I really did feel like from the beginning of this chapter, something was off. From the moment that Jodio got that call from his mom, talking about chicken burritos, it's a small thing, and it might not even mean anything, but it just added to that like feeling of something being weird. Like, what a coincidence that she would say she's craving chicken burritos. We're over here dealing with this weird chicken burrito bag situation.
I think it was to reinforce, like you said, like that weird feeling about the chicken burritos. Yes. And it's also to represent too, I mean, the mom is like so oblivious to what her children are doing. So she is like, her context for a chicken burrito right now in this moment is way different than Jodio's, which I think is so funny. The parallels between both of them. It's like, well, I just want a chicken burrito. It's like, okay, mom, you have no idea what the fuck I'm going through with the chicken burrito right now. You have no clue. Don't mention it. Bye.
It was so funny too. I also feel like her conversation with Jodio about Paco was pretty interesting too, because she's telling him to stay away from Paco for all these reasons. There's a rumor he went to jail for a year. But Jodio, when Paco, the imposter, was talking to Jodio, I was trying to look for some sort of like pun. It felt like it was there and then it wasn't. The imposter. See, it's not there.
The imposter.
The imposter. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. When he was talking to him and clearly stating his intentions about like being firm, deciding what we are going to do and standing, firm in that decision.
You could say solid as a rock.
Solid as a rock. I think that what's interesting though is that when he's like stating those intentions to Paco in that moment, he's drawn in a way that it's not menacing isn't the right word, but he I don't know, it just felt like not even sinister. I don't know the exact word to describe
commanding
the feeling. Yeah,
he was like, the way he was talking to him, it was like he was giving him a lecture.
But the energy was very firm.
It was firm, and it was commanding. I mean, he's like, you have to, we're doing this.
I almost want to pull up a panel just to kind of, if I see it again, then maybe I can better articulate the feeling it gives me. But it was
just
interesting.
A little cold.
Yeah, it was interesting in this moment because Jodio's mom is telling him to stay away from Paco, but him delivering all of these lines to Paco, it makes me feel like Jodio is who Paco needs to stay away from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? It's like 100%. The other way around. And so that was kind of funny too.
100%. That's such a funny point, because it is like, it's always that person that your mom, like it's always that mom's kid that thinks that her son or her daughter is like the innocent one in all of this, and they're the worst one.
Yeah.
They're the one causing all the problems. They're like, my daughter would never do that. They're like, okay, but they're the ringleader.
Exactly.
And you have no idea. You are completely oblivious.
That's what it was. And even going back with the reveal at the end, going back, and then, so that was how I experienced it the first time. But then going back and re-experiencing it after I know that this is an imposter, it almost, I don't think Jodio obviously knew, but it almost made me feel like he did know for a moment, even though I know he didn't. This whole scene, again, it's completely flipped on its head. He is clearly stating his intentions and telling this person exactly who he is and what he intends to do, and that person ends up being the enemy. I don't really mind that the enemy still hasn't been like completely revealed, or we don't know exactly what's happening with their standability, or if they are or aren't a rock human.
No, and I think that, I mean, with Jojo, I mean, there's so many in the last part in Jojolands, like that wasn't revealed till much later. So
and again, who knows if this is even going to be the main villain of the whole part? But
yeah.
It's interesting that they're talking about the mafia and this feeling like a mafia thing, and that specific line of dialogue coming from the person who supposedly or seemingly did the thing.
Yeah, and I it's interesting too, because it is that like parallel again with like Golden Wind, and we've already said like it really does encapsulate like that part again. It's very reminiscent of like drugs and like gangs and stuff.
Shit.
So I just like, the mafia, like mafia is like now involved,
right? And it can be very sinister, but it can also be hilarious, dude. To think about this guy, right? He's like, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna decapitate some cats, and I'm gonna put them in a bag. Okay, the heads in a bag, and I'm gonna send them to Jodio. Right?
It's very Godfather.
I'm gonna freak him out. And then Jodio not really being freaked out. And then him having to explain, like, as Paco, like, yeah, dude, it seems pretty scary to me, dude. I don't know, dude. Maybe he's trying to tell you that. Like, explaining everything, like, in like, too much detail. Seems like he's trying to send you a message and tell you that he doesn't care about those cats, dude. But they are his pets, so you would think he would care about them, but he clearly doesn't, dude.
He's trying to like explain empathy and trying to explain like why a person would be scared about this, and Jodio just doesn't have those cues at all. Like he was not born with them, so he's like, I mean, it's just the thing we have to deal with now. And he's like, no, but this is like a sign. He's like,
and he's like deducing things too. Like, well, it's funny because it sounds like this person has no clue what the lava rock does. And I made a promise to Rohan, so I'm not letting them get their hands on it. And then, the imposter Paco's like, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, the context at the end is like, oh, that's why he was saying all that shit. Yeah, that's why it's funny. Sure. It was like in the moment, I was like, okay, I mean,
Paco's a bitch.
Paco. I was like, kidding. Paco, we know. Like, like you're saying the most obvious shit right now. Like,
right.
Like, of course, it's we're dealing with a psycho who would put cats' heads in a bag. We know. We get it.
I think before we go into the whole like Dragona and Usagi thing.
Yeah.
I do want to just talk about the end real quick because it still involves like Paco and Jodio. We were talking a bit about it off mic before we started recording. You don't think it's Dr. Wu. A lot of the internet has been saying that this panel at the very end looks very similar to Dr. Wu's, the stand ability of Dr. Wu, right? Breaking his body apart into all of these like little particles and being able to like go inside of someone's body. But you think, no way.
I just don't. I understand they look similar, but that doesn't mean that it has to be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong because Araki just brought back his self-insert Rohan, but I think that's the farthest he would go, in because it doesn't really connect to anything, right? I can see if like the Lokaka was influenced into all of this. It might be, we don't know yet. But it just doesn't really make any sense for me to be like, this fool's all the way in Morio,
right.
And then for him to just show up in Hawaii years, like the timeline and everything. And I do think that it isn't like the ability. I think that it was just like a shell. Like maybe this is a stand that is able to emulate with, if they are a rock human, maybe emulate the person's appearance, because we do see them underneath the skin
right.
of the Paco. But yeah, I don't think it's very likely that it is him. I think it looks similar. I just don't think it would be, unless there's a very valid reason as to why he's working with the mafia to get this lava rock. If it has something to do with his like medical work, then I can see it. If it's explained to me, then yeah. But at first instinct, I just don't think it would be. I don't think it would be. It'd make much sense.
Right. I think people kind of go back to that because of his sort of like catchphrase, "I never fail." And it would be kind of cool for him to come back in that way. I really don't think it is him, though, either. It wouldn't really make much sense. Like you said, everything that he was involved with, everything that they were dealing with, that was Jojoland. And this is the Jojolands. And this is something completely different. I don't even know if this is necessarily a rock human.
Yeah, that could be something that Araki's doing too. Like trying to like duke us into thinking that rock humans are.
Some people have said that it looks like paper to them. Some people said it looks
paper
like
mache stand.
Truly, it doesn't even have to be a rock human. No, it really doesn't.
No, we're like so like not traumatized, but we just think anything that
right. We're conditioned
into thinking that it's just always going to be rock humans, and I think that like maybe Araki set that up so early as to like a little nod to the rock humans, but they're not going to be in this part, And
honestly, if they did come back, I would like it. I would like if they were introduced and had a part to play in this part. But if they don't, that's cool too.
That's cool too. Yeah. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to be upset if it is, but I think if it was Dr. Wu, I'd be like, why? It needs a good reason. It needs to have a good reason.
I'd be intrigued for sure.
If you have a good reason, comment below and tell me straight to my face why I'm wrong.
What do you think the person at the very end, who do you think they are? Do you think it's Dr. Wu? Do you think it's a rock human? Do you think it's just a stand ability that has nothing to do with rock? Do you also think it looks like paper? Let us know your thoughts. Curiouser and curiouser, though, I will say. And what an amazing sort of twist and like really cool moment at the very end of the chapter.
Yeah, that's always a. I mean, it's just I thought for a second, I don't know, because all the characters are just getting like completely messed up in this part, and then being like, "We're good." I thought it was going to be like way worse for Jodio at the end, but he just got stabbed. I was like, "Oh,
well, his throat got slashed," which is pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy.
I'm not going to fall for it again. I can't keep getting duped like this, Araki. I'm not going to fall for it again. You keep doing this, and you keep doing it. You keep doing this.
I guess I'm kind of there with you, like in terms of just like
the stakes. I feel the stakes for the new characters coming and getting introduced, like the mafia, them having to like battle these maybe stand users and having to navigate also like not getting caught by the cops and all these people coming after them. That's where I feel the stakes. But when it comes to actual damage done to any of the main cast besides them actually dying and it being confirmed,
right?
I just don't feel anything. I feel like Jodio. I feel like Jodio right now, looking at the bag of cat heads.
Well, obviously, we know he's going to be fine. But
you understand, right?
No, 100%. Yeah. I understand that the stakes in JoJo, sometimes you don't. Sometimes people just get fucked up to a point where you believe there's no possible way that anybody, stand or no stand, can come back from it, and then they do. I get it. And I just am always more curious in like how they do. What I don't want to happen is, because we talked about it last time when they were in that battle in the forest, how they didn't address it at all. They just ended up in this food court area outside of this jewelry shop without any any
Not
cuts,
even a
scrapes,
scratch.
not even any bandages.
And also their outfits are completely like unscathed. That's where I'm kind
That's
of like
just what I don't want to happen.
the beginning of Jojolion, I've been feeling that a lot, I think. And that's just a personal thing. I understand it's JoJo. I understand this has happened, and other stories do the same thing, where characters do get like beat up to the point of like no return, and then they're just fine.
Yeah, it's yeah.
But I feel like it's been pretty right in my face in this part, and maybe that's just how I'm feeling. Maybe that's just a me thing. I'm just voicing my
absolutely. You can't not address what happened to Jodio. Like Jodio can't just get up and then be fine. Like
throat slash. She's like.
But yeah, at the end, I think that the twist of finding out that Paco was an imposter is obviously more shocking, and I'm more interested in than like Jodio getting slashed.
Yeah.
I mean, I really am just like, okay, that's gonna be figured out.
Cool.
But what's this Paco situation?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
The other situation that we would be remiss if we didn't talk about is the whole thing going on in the watch shop between Usagi and Dragona.
Yes. And again, like I said in the beginning, it is so funny that Rocky does this, and there's a way more, the stakes are way higher for the people, Paco and Jodio, outside of the jewelry shop than them. There's a point in time where they're like, oh shoot, no, we definitely got caught. We didn't mean to do this, but it's happening this way anyway. But then it just gets completely like, oh, they're just slippery.
That was
which is funny,
crazy, and I don't think it was that it was just slippery. I think that there's another explanation.
Yes, and that was their explanation because they had no explanation.
Exactly.
So they're like, I guess it's just really slippery, and they's like, okay, for sure, you're gonna believe that? Sick, we're gonna go.
Yeah. I do think it kind of plays into the whole like thing about mechanisms though, which I think is really cool because we're finding out that it seems like emotions and connections is like how it, or like what it draws from in terms of like how it operates, and the ability to like control stands without this is also another question that I'm asking everybody who has obviously read the chapter. Do you think it is the lava rock controlling stands? I'm also asking you, Mehgan, of course, obviously. Is it controlling stands? Is it controlling the user and erasing memories? I thought there was one other option, but it might be just between those two things.
I think it's the user. I think it's the user. I think that it's controlling the user, but it would be really cool if it was controlling the stands. Because then they would have no memory, because if the stands are doing it themselves and they're not controlling them, they're like, how did this start to happen? If I'm not controlling my stand, which is the only way it's able to work, how could this be possible? And if they're controlling the stand, if it controls the stands, then they would have no recollection of them using their stand because the stand's using it on its own.
I guess and I want to give full credit because I started down this like train of thought after I saw a comment on Reddit, and I just want to like shout them out because I think it's like a really well written comment, and I think that it's just really interesting. So I just wanted to shout it out and read it real quick to kind of like maybe better explain how I got to where I got. So this is from Rojo176. Really love that the last moment with Dragona and Usagi gives the vibe that things are about to get very real very quick, which we'll talk about that. But I like the idea that the rock moves things unconsciously using people's emotions and connections. That makes it feel like it wraps around even more into the idea of societal mechanisms. Also, the idea that even if it takes a long time, the watch will eventually find its way back to the rock reminds me a lot of the ideas from the end of Jojolion, how chance encounters like Radio Gaga incident starts a cascade of events that would eventually create Josuke as a miracle to counter to calamity. It took a long time with many coincidences, but it reached its destination. The idea is, that mechanisms are these invisible forces that if we can figure out how to manipulate or control, then we can live a, very a wealthy existence, right? Whatever that wealth is. And we have these things, stands, and this lava rock that is controlling these invisible forces to bring these material objects to you. So the lava rock, in essence, I feel like is really where the themes of and meanings of what a mechanism is are gonna be shown through. And does that make sense? Am I making sense? Sometimes when I talk about JoJo, I don't feel like I'm making any damn sense. I mean,
I understand your train of thought. Mm-hmm. And I think that for sure this is the beginnings of that, and it's going to get more extreme when it comes to lava rock. I mean, I think they're just doing not petty stuff with it, but they're testing it out. So I think it's going to get more and more extreme with the rock and the mechanisms that it's using. I mean, we kind of see that when Usagi's like, if it is reliant on emotions and what just happened, then like remember me and remember this moment.
That was cool.
And cherish it.
That was cool.
And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, now they're besties.
I loved that moment. And I saw some other people on Twitter. I like to see what everybody else is kind of thinking, how everybody else is kind of feeling. And I saw some other people saying that, it could be that Usagi has some sort of like King Crimson-esque ability because he and his stand are named after a King Crimson song, right? And the kind of like watch appearing in the emblem, appearing on the shoelace. It almost seems like this like sort of like time skipping thing happening. I don't really think that that's the case. I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being. I'm not saying it can't be true, but I really don't think that that is the case. But what I find more interesting is people who continue to believe that Usagi might be some sort of traitor, or he might end up betraying the group because of these moments. Because of
those moments, and because of the ties that this part definitely calls back to from Golden Wind. Yes. And like we said before, I mean, Araki didn't have the heart to have one of the group go against them at the time in Golden Wind when he was writing it, but now maybe he is in that place. Right. And maybe now he can do that. And it would be so cool for a character to have a King Crimson-like ability to really solidify that this person is like a villain or this person is a traitor.
Right. I have the panel pulled up here because I want to like look at it together, because it's what he says exactly that could come across as him just being a nice guy, being a sweetheart. And by the way, I do want to say again that Usagi, as of right now, is like my favorite Joe bro of this part. I love Usagi with all of my whole heart. But he says, we should cherish this, don't let go of it. Talking about how this whole experience has been like kind of a good time.
Yeah, that shopping. Oh, can you scroll up a little bit? That shopping trip was fun, right? with just you and me.
See, I thought that was a little flirtatious. It
might be.
I thought he was spitting some game.
It might be.
I don't know. I think that when a lot of emphasis are put on these moments, like we should cherish that, don't let go of it. To me, it feels like it could mean that things are about to get really, really bad, or that he himself is like Araki is setting it up for him to betray the group. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it says, Dragona says that, and I think that Usagi knows this too. Like, okay, it happened unconsciously for me and for the shopkeeper and the guards too, but through people's emotions and connections, these things that are worth money are surely eventually to come back.
Right.
So if Dragona is told to keep this memory and to keep what just happened, these emotions is keep it in the forefront of her mind, and Usagi's like, I'm gonna get my bag.
I still don't 100%.
I'm gonna get my bag.
Yeah.
But that's, even Usagi says Dragona-chan, which is usually more feminine.
Right.
So it's
but Dragona's mom said he at the beginning of the chapter.
It's the both.
I know.
But we talked about this.
But yeah, it's just really interesting. And I think that it's all really reiterating the main theme of this part.
The driving force.
The mechanisms. It's coming back to that. And we have a literal physical object that exists and is showing us this concept and how it can work.
Yeah.
And even though it might take a lot of time, how the inner workings of the world and the universe the gears will always turn in a way that these things will come back to you, will find a way back to you. So it's just really interesting, all the concepts that are being explored. They mentioned the map too. Are they going to end up going to where that X is on the map? Super great chapter. I don't know what's going to happen. I never do when it comes to JoJo, but we know that it seems like we're going to finally get the beginning of this like stand battle out in the open between Jodio, Paco, and Dragona and Usagi are on their way out too. So they're all going to be there for when this fight takes place. How this like shape-shifting ability or, imposter ability is going to come into play throughout. Yeah. Are they the main villain, side villain, villain of the week? I don't know. But it's just so exciting to be monthly and to get to experience it and talk to everybody about it. And speaking of that, this is the first time, like we mentioned earlier, that we've ever done this. We've gone through all of JoJo on this channel. We do plan on talking about these chapters as they come out monthly. So if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, liking, commenting. That helps out so much. But it also would mean the world to us if you just decided to check out another JoJo discussion that we have had in the past. Either way, Like I said, we plan on doing these monthly, and we plan on really figuring this format out, getting better and better and better as we go. We appreciate you being here and talking about this with us. We love this series. We love this community. I think that's it for this episode, this discussion. The only thing left to do now, unless you have anything else you want to add or say.
No, yeah.
The only thing left to do now is to get out of here on our outro that is always the same and never changes, which today, Mehgan, is...
Let's go get chicken burritos.
I'm so genuinely down.
No, I know.
Let's get some chicken burritos.
Not El Pollo Loco, though.
Why?
Juan Pollo is better.
Can I be honest? And this is maybe going to maybe upset some people. I don't know why, lately, the past year, I've been fucking hard, heavy with Del Taco.
Hard for Del Taco.
I've been hard for Del Taco and not Taco Bell. I used to be obsessed with Taco Bell.
Me
and
too.
Now I'm like, you know what? Taco Bell's fucking asshole. I don't want it.
Me too.
I'm
I can't remember the
Taco.
last time I had Taco Bell.
I could tell you I had Del Taco, though, 3 times in the past, 2 months. Maybe my palate's evolving.
I think. Maybe we're just old now.
Wow.
Young people like Taco Bell.
I'm young, so.
But anyways, let's go get chicken burritos.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for any and all ways that you show your support. Remember, I'll put a video at the end of this episode where we did a huge JoJo collab stream with a bunch of other creators. If you haven't seen that, feel free to click that. And until next time,
let's get chicken burritos.
You almost said some. You almost said it.
I was thinking about it too much.
I got it in your head, dude, but was that just for the outro or are you serious?
No, I for real want one.
No, I'm dead ass.
Really?
Really.
Okay, then let's go.
Del Taco.
No, I said Juan Pollo.
Bye.